The Galactic Council chamber hung suspended in the void between stars, a crystalline structure that had witnessed 10,000 years of peaceful arbitration. Today, that peace shattered like glass. Elsa Martinez stood at the edge of the observation deck, her small frame dwarfed by the massive viewport displaying the swirling nebula beyond. At 11 years old, she was the youngest human ever to visit the Council station, brought here by her father as part of the new human integration program. Her dark eyes traced the patterns of stellar dust, wondering if her mother could see the same nebula from Earth, 37 light-years away. "You shouldn't be here, Deathworlder spawn." Elsa turned to find Officer Vexthari looming over her. The Cathari officer stood nearly 3 meters tall, her chitinous exoskeleton gleaming purple under the station's bioluminescent lighting, her 4 compound eyes fixed on Elsa with undisguised contempt. "I'm allowed in the public areas," Elsa said quietly, gripping her datapad tighter. "My father checked." "Your father," Vexthari clicked her mandibles in what Elsa had learned was the Cathari equivalent of a sneer. These pathetic creatures who crawled from the gravity well of a death world, who breathe corrosive oxygen, who claim equality with civilized species. Elsa had heard it all before. Earth, with its crushing 1G gravity, its toxic atmosphere, its deadly weather patterns and predator-filled ecosystems, was classified as a Class 12 death world. Only 3 other known species in the galaxy had evolved on planets half as hostile. Humans were the newest addition to galactic society, and not everyone welcomed them. "I'm just looking at the nebula," Elsa said, trying to step past the officer. Vexthari's manipulation limb shot out, striking Elsa across the face with the back of her chitinous appendage. The impact sent the girl sprawling across the deck, her datapad clattering away. Blood welled from a split lip. "Know your place, mammal." The officer walked away, leaving Elsa on the cold floor tasting copper. She touched her lip, wincing, and slowly stood. She didn't cry. Her father had taught her that showing weakness invited more aggression, a lesson learned from growing up in the gravity wells and social pressures of Earth. She found Harry in the human quarters, working on his terminal. Harry Chen, 28 years old, had been stationed on the Council for 2 years as a systems engineer. He'd become a friend to Elsa's father, and by extension, to Elsa herself. "What happened?" Harry's eyes narrowed as he saw her split lip. "It's nothing, Elsa," she told him. Harry's jaw tightened, his hands forming fists, then deliberately relaxing. "Did anyone see it?" "The cameras probably did, but what does it matter? The Cathari have diplomatic immunity. The Council won't." "The Council won't do anything," Harry finished, "but we will." Elsa's father arrived within minutes, along with 3 other humans stationed on the Council. They gathered in Harry's quarters, reviewing the security footage. The incident was clear, undeniable. "We file a formal complaint," Elsa's father said, though his voice carried no conviction. "They'll dismiss it," Harry replied. "Like they dismissed the last 7 incidents against humans. We're too new, too controversial. Half the Council species want us expelled." "So what do you propose?" Harry leaned back, his expression grim. "We remind them why death worlds produce the species they do. We show them that diplomatic immunity doesn't mean immunity from consequences." The discussion that followed lasted 3 hours. Elsa wasn't allowed to hear most of it, sent to rest in her quarters. But she saw her father's face when they finished, haunted, determined, afraid. The next day, the Council convened for their quarterly session. Representatives from 47 species gathered in the Great Chamber, including the Cathari delegation with Officer Vexthari among their security detail. The session proceeded normally for the first hour. Trade agreements, territorial disputes, scientific collaborations, the mundane business of galactic civilization. Then the doors opened and the human delegation entered. They carried a container. Harry led them, his face carved from stone. Behind him walked Elsa's father and 4 other humans, their steps measured, purposeful. They approached the central dais where the council elders presided. "This is highly irregular," the Tixian elder chittered. "You are not scheduled to speak." "We invoke the right of grievance," Harry stated. "Ancient law granted to all member species. We present evidence of a crime and demand justice." The chamber erupted in murmurs. The right of grievance hadn't been invoked in 300 years. Harry opened the container. Inside, preserved in stasis gel, was a head. Vixthari's head. The chamber exploded into chaos. Shouts, clicks, subsonic rumbles of outrage echoed off the crystalline walls. The Cathari delegation surged forward, only to be blocked by station security. "You murdered a council officer," the Cathari ambassador screeched. "We executed a criminal," Harry corrected, his voice cutting through the noise like a blade. "Under Section 7 of the Galactic Compact, which you all signed, any species member who commits assault against a juvenile of another species forfeits diplomatic protection. A minor injury, a small bruise on a Deathworlder child. The law makes no distinction of scale," Elsa's father said, stepping forward. "Your officer struck my daughter without provocation. We have video evidence. We filed complaints through proper channels and were ignored. The compact grants us the right to justice when official channels fail." The Tixian elder's eye stalks bent toward the container, then away. "This is barbaric. We are civilized beings. We don't." "You don't what?" Harry interrupted. "Execute criminals. You dissolved the Horathi delegation in acid for their treaty violations. You vented the Nyx ambassadors into space for attempted sabotage. The only difference is that we're new, and you expected us to accept being beaten and humiliated because we're from a death world." The chamber fell silent. The truth of Harry's words hung heavy in the recycled air. The Vithari elder, oldest of the council, spoke in their slow, rumbling voice. "The humans cite our own laws. The precedent exists. The Cathari officer committed assault against a juvenile. Diplomatic immunity does not extend to such acts." "But to kill her," the Cathari ambassador began. "The compact specifies that the aggrieved species determines appropriate justice within reason. The humans could have demanded the officer's exile, imprisonment, or execution. They chose the latter. Grotesque as the presentation may be, it is within their rights." The Cathari delegation hissed and clicked in fury, but they could not dispute the elder's words. The law was clear, written by their own ancestors. Harry placed a small device on the dais. "This contains all evidence of the assault, our complaint filings, and the timestamps showing when we were ignored. We followed every rule. We exhausted every proper channel. Only then did we act." He paused. "And let this be understood. Humans do not forget. We do not forgive easily. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day for millions of years, and we survived. We will not be abused in the name of diplomacy." Elsa watched from the observation gallery, her lips still swollen, as the council debated for hours. Finally, they reached their verdict. The human action was justified under the compact. The Cathari could file no charges. Reparations would not be paid. But more importantly, a new understanding settled over the council. Humanity was not soft. They would tolerate much, but there were lines that should not be crossed, especially when it came to their young. That evening, Elsa found Harry on the observation deck, staring at the same nebula she'd been watching when Vixthari struck her. "Was it worth it?" she asked quietly. Harry looked down at her, and for a moment she saw the weight of what he'd done in his eyes. "I hope you never have to make that choice," he said. "But yes, some things are worth the cost. Making sure no one ever touches you or any other human child again, that's worth everything." Elsa nodded and stood beside him, watching the stars turn, knowing the galaxy would never underestimate humanity again.